Here we go. Time for some classic bullshit. This is why I don't play TBC, man. It's a fucking joke. It's a fucking joke, man. Oh, it's hard. No, it's not. It's fucking joke. You just need people to like now to be classic players. Bring retail players that do like Mythic 10, Mythic plus 10 or higher, and this is a fucking joke.
Has been running now for over 11 months, and yesterday night, one of the
Let's
the
see.
hardest, if not the hardest, raid that classic players have seen so far has been released, Sunwell
Yeah.
Plateau. And this raid contains some of the most famous bosses in the history of WoW, like Kil'jaeden, Brutalis, and most notably of course, Muru. So how did players in 2022 with years of knowledge and playing World of Warcraft do 15 years later? Well, without surprise, this raid got cleared very shortly after it got released. But what might surprise you is it actually took under 1 hour to do so. 52 minutes to be exact. When back in the day...
If you think about, well, like once you get to Brutalis, like right before you get to him, there's not a lot of trash. There's like, first of all, how many bosses are there? You have the Dreadlord. Wait, before the Dreadlord, do you have... No, Dreadlord is the first boss with the dragon. Caligos, right? And then it's Brutalis. You have the twins. You have the dog. Muru and Kil'jaeden. Did I miss anyone? Is that it? Was there like only 6 bosses in... Let me see this shit. How many bosses are in Solid Plateau? Plateau bosses. I'm trying to remember how many bosses there are. Yeah, Valen was there, really? Oh shit, look at that. Caligos, which is... Isn't it Caligos and the Dreadlord the same? Or is that 2 different bosses? Okay, let's say that's 2. I don't remember, but let's say this is 2 different bosses. Brutalis. No, this is the same boss, technically. No, it's not, right? Because you have... Okay, yeah, you have the... Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Because you kill Brutalis and then his blood becomes Felmist. Yeah. Okay. That's 4. That's 5. That's 6. And that's 7. So you have 7 bosses, really. This is the same boss, I believe. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because like this is technically a different boss. 3, 4. This is 5. They're together. 6. These are the same. 7. Yeah, it's like only 7 bosses. Yeah, of course it's gonna be fucking an hour, man. Joke.
It took 2 months for the guild SK Gaming to claim World First, but there's a catch to that we'll get to in a moment.
2 months?
Yesterday, to achieve this feat of strength, the Chinese World First Guild Old School and a bunch of other guilds around the world had to resort to some insane tactics to pull off clearing this raid in under 1 hour. So today we're gonna see exactly how they did that and compare it to the original World First just for fun.
Bro, look at this guy.
How they did that and compare it
Look
to
at this set. Ooh, man, the darkness around this blood
original World First just for fun. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, first and foremost, it's worth noting that compared to any other full-length raid we've had so far in Classic, Sunwell Plateau is very straightforward and has very little trash in comparison. In fact, there's like 4 sections of trash in this raid.
That and so the 2 low trash, well, I can't say that... what's called Tempest Keep, is that the one with the Kael'thas? Technically is also low on trash, but it's also a very small raid, so I mean it's actually quite a lot for this raid size. But
a gauntlet, and most
but yeah,
of it
this one's
is
like
cramped up very
pretty
fast. So when guilds yesterday starting invis potting the first packs, rocket boosting through them, and just using petrification flasks at the end, this really set the mood for the rest of the race and the kind of tactics we were gonna see being used. This on its own saved all these top end guilds probably 10 to 15 minutes of trash clearing and filtered out the rest of the competition. Another really cool thing that we saw happened was from the guild Progress, who actually did Caligos with only 24 players. And the reason for this is because they sent a player ahead to start the Brutalis RP so they could start on him right away after Caligos. Very, very smart. But ultimately, as you know, Progress did not get World First this time, unlike all the previous raid tiers. That title goes to the Chinese guild Old School, and we already started to get a glance as to why on Caligos and Brutalis. Their damage was off the charts, and they were pulling some insane numbers.
Wow,
with a
look at
very
that. Hunters and Warlocks. Wow. Who would have thunk?
unique hunter heavy comp. No other guild had more than 1 or 2 hunters in their raid. Old School had 4, and they were all topping the meters. Anyways, after Brutalis, it was time for Felmist, which surprisingly enough turned out to be the most lethal boss in this instance for these high-end guilds. My good friend Stay Safe TV was hosting this event showing a bunch of different POVs of different guilds, and we saw more wipes I think on this boss than any other bosses. If you don't know, the way Felmist works is she periodically chooses a random player, lifts them in the air, and starts dealing some huge arcane damage around them. This is called Encapsulate. So you need to split your raid in 4 groups, and whoever gets someone lifted in their group needs to run away from them. The thing is, this is highly RNG. You could get no encapsulates at all throughout this fight, or get a ton of them. And it seems like many guilds got very unlucky here. Either way, of course, the top 5 or 6 guilds had 0 wipes throughout this raid and kept going. Interestingly enough, there were no skips on the gauntlet after Felmist. It seems like there's no crazy stuff to do here, so all these guilds simply ran through it, killing the mobs. At a very fast pace, of course, but going through it normally. So now, it's time for a bit of history. Back in 2008, when Sunwell released on March 25th, those 3 bosses we just saw, Caligos, Brutalis, and Felmist, were the only bosses available.
Yeah, Caligos at the... Okay, so there is 6. I was right. There's only 6 bosses.
For a good
Caligos and the Dreadlord are the same boss. I wasn't wrong.
2 weeks. The rest of the raid was time gated until the gate to the Eridar Twins
really?
opened on April 8th, 2008. And in fact, even back in
interesting.
the day, it took guilds only 1 day to clear all 3 of those first bosses, where SK Gaming claimed world first Felmist on March 26th, just 1 day after Sunwell opened. So really, it seems like Sunwell, even back in the day, at least so far, was easy for those high-end guilds. And spoiler alert, this scenario where bosses only last a couple days after they're available will continue until Kill Jaden. Of course, the gatekeeping made it easier for those guilds because they could gear up on the previous bosses in preparation for the ones yet to release. Nevertheless, this doesn't compare at all to the insane 52 minutes clears of yesterday. But anyways, let's get back in the present. So after the gauntlet, it was time for Eridar Twins. Yet again here, carried by their insane DPS and unique comp, the Chinese guild Old School managed to be way ahead of everyone else from this point on. The fact that this guild, which only got world 7th on the previous tier, managed to beat everyone this time around is very impressive. And I don't think anyone really expected that. Speaking of their comp, something else very unique about it is that those guys were running 2 Shadow Priests in this raid, allowing them to have essentially infinite mana.
Yeah, I was wondering. Oh my god, bro. Like... I get it that making the strats for bosses is technically what should take the longest. But like, there's like 3 mechanics per boss or some shit, you know? It's like, it's so not hard.
And go for only 6 healers in their raid. 6 healers in a 25-man raid is crazy, even when you're very familiar with the raid. But doing it on the world first race and managing to pull it off is just insanity. As for Eridar Twins, this fight is very, very healing.
Isn't 6 like standard? Well, you go with 8 in TBC for 25s? Also, why don't the Draenei look anywhere near like this? Holy fuck. Look at that armor. Look at the bust size. Are you kidding me? Well, look at those goats.
intensive, and any
Greatest of
mistake
all
throughout this
time.
fight will ultimately lead to a wipe for
Ah,
sure.
like every
Someone
boss,
doesn't move
whatever.
out with conflag, everyone wipes. A tank loses aggro at any point, wipe. Your tank forgets to get Shadow Nova on phase 2, they will die and you will wipe. But for those high-end guilds, it was no issue of course, and they all managed to one-shot this boss. After Eredar Twins was the last time we saw some cool trash skips. As I said earlier, this raid has very little trash and most of it is cramped up. So if you manage to skip it, you'll be saving probably 30 to 45 minutes worth of trash clearing. And that's what Progress did here. Unfortunately here, Progress failed the first time they tried to do this and ended up wiping. And that's probably what cost them their world first. Of course, you don't want to do this at any other time than if you're doing a speedrun like this, because the trash in this instance drops some crazy loot, like actual weapons and gear pieces, patterns, and of course sun.
My favorite weapon.
Really, you don't want to skip any of it
TBC.
typically, but those guilds did.
Well, actually no, not my favorite. My favorite was the sword and the base from blacksmithing, then the polar.
Okay, now moving on to Muru. You may very well know this boss as the hardest boss in the history of WoW, because, quote, it lasted for 40 days. Well, as you know now, that's missing some huge context behind it. The fact that Muru originally was gay.
How many times do I need to tell like certain fucking companies to stop fucking calling me?
Capped until April 29th on US servers and April 30th on EU servers. And the fact that he died just 4 days later by the hands of the European guild SK Gaming on May 5th. Of course, Muru was undeniably very hard back in the day, and that's most notably due to the spell pushback he caused, because specifically in phase 2, each one of those chain lightning effects Entropius does would spell pushback whoever got hit by them, and they happened every 3 seconds throughout the fight, hitting one additional person on each cast, and that's mainly the issue players had on Muru back in the day. Later on, Blizzard removed the spell pushback, and nowadays in Classic, we don't have it either, even though we do have the pre-nerf values. That's because
I think they should have added the pushback.
The spell pushback was not a fun mechanic to deal with, to quote Brian Birmingham in BlizzCon. So how did the high-end guilds in 2022 do against Muru? Well, they one-shot him of course. Yet again here, old school's comp and insane DPS carried them throughout this fight.
I mean, don't forget, these guys are practicing this on like private servers before they even go there, right? So...
and into Kil'jaeden. But here's one very important thing you need to know to understand exactly why these guilds are doing so well nowadays compared to back in the day. You could argue it's because people have been playing World of Warcraft for 17.
I mean, that's a big factor, but also the strategy to beat the boss is already out there. The private servers are there. People know exactly how to play their class. People know exactly what the best in slot is. So there's so much information that it doesn't even matter. Like, it's like way easier just by default because of the amount of information you have.
Years.
And years of practice.
Could argue it's because we as players are just better gamers nowadays. You could argue it's because we have access to more resources to learn the game, how to optimize our DPS, what consumables to use to gain 2 DPS instead of 1, or that we've been playing private servers since they were a thing. And all of these things are definitely all true, but the main reason is because of the PTR servers. Blizzard used to not do this at the start of Classic, but it seems like they value quality of content to surprise and novelty nowadays. Every raid tier in Classic, since Zul'Gurub to Sunwell, we've had a PTR server up where we could test the content, report bugs, and most importantly, practice with our guilds there. And I guarantee you, all of these guilds we just saw did that, and even more on private servers. If we didn't have the PTR, those guilds could still have practiced on private servers, of course, but there's no way we'd see the insane times we just saw. Private servers are just very inaccurate, be it in the values, the patrols, the mechanics, the way your class plays, and a bunch of other small things like that. The PTR servers are the real reason why these guilds did what they did yesterday. Anyways, finally, of course, after Muru came Kill Jaden. And as you know, the Chinese guild Old School claimed world first on this. They had a super clean fight, super clean run overall, and the rest of the guilds followed shortly after, with Avatar and Progress on EU servers, and then the guild Welcome on Benediction US. Huge congrats to these guilds and their awesome performance. As for me, with my guild,
What a
we
joke.
managed to clear up to and including Eridar twins, and we're about to sink our teeth into Muru tonight as I'm writing this. Sunwell has always had a very special place in my heart since I was a kid, because patch 2.4 was when I started to play the game, and I remember making it to level 70, going into the Isle of Keldanas, and seeing the gates of Sunwell. This
Fair enough.
infamous raid that players said back in the day only welcomed the elite players. 15 years later, here I am clearing it with my guild.
Well, I guess you're an elite player now.
This is why this raid is so special to me. But what has your experience been so far? Have you set foot in...
But isn't it the same for Nextramus? Even though Nextramus was like, he'll just didn't have time to clear it. Nextramus, in my opinion, is the most raid out of all the raids that were released. Nextramus and what's it called? And ICC. Just the sheer construction of the raid. Right? Think about it like this, right? How many you have? What, 14 bosses in Nextramus? Right? 14 or more? No, it's 3 per room, and then you have the Sephiroth, and then you have Kel'Thuzad. So it's like 14 bosses. It's fucked up. And also like the location is massive, right? Nextramus is fucking huge. And like ICC was fucking massive too. I think ICC is also 14, isn't it? Or more. Let's see. You have 3 there, you have 3 there. You have those 2. And you have 1, 2, 3 to go up. Where's 11 in ICC? 11 or 14? I think it's 11. No, wait. 12. Bone Storm, Undead Necromancer thingy, whatever, with the shadows. Spaceship Battle. Dranosh. 3 Princes. Is there anyone before the 3 Princes or after? No, it was just 3 Princes. Then you had the Queen. Then you had the 2 Abominations. Then you had the Professor. Then you had... Who were we healing there? There was a heal fight in ICC. There's some dragon. Then you had the Frostworm. And then you had the Lich King, right? So 12. Okay, 12. Which is, again, it's pretty standard. Like, a lot of the raids have, like, whatever, 11 to 13 bosses. I get it. But, like, Travis was so massive. It felt like there was more.
Sunwell yet, or are you just casually leveling or gearing up and preparing for Wrath? One thing is for sure, in Wrath of the Lich King, we will see some incredible and beautiful raids releasing, like Ulduar or ICC, but also some very forgettable ones like TOC or Naxxramas. Either way, I can't wait to see the race to World First for these raids, and we will definitely be covering it on this channel, so you know what to do. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to give it a like and subscribe to the Classic WoW Curios channel for more content like this. My name is Numidia, and I will see you guys in the next one very soon.
I would say the only thing I don't like about this video is his language. It is too nice. Amazing and beautiful raids and iconic. It's like, oh my god, man. How about some just like saying like cool raids or like legendary raids? I don't know, like, oh, I just hate the wording here. I don't know why it bothers me so much.
For Wrath. One thing is for sure, in Wrath of the Lich King, we will see some incredible beautiful raids releasing.
Beautiful raids.
Like Ulduar or ICC, but also some very forgettable ones like TOC or Naxxramas.
I don't think these two are forgettable. I think TOC was a fantastic attempt at no trash raid, and I think it was great. I overall liked TOC. I don't know why people didn't like TOC. I'm not sure. But TOC was fucking great. Just boss after boss after boss. I wish you could just. Actually, no, you can't just queue them up pretty much instantly. I don't know why TOC was so poorly received. It was, I think, was a fair experiment by Blizzard, and I think because for some reason people didn't like TOC, Blizzard thinks that people don't like boss only raids. Yeah, you can't go there for trash farming, sure, whatever, but it's like what? And Naxxramas, what do you mean forgettable? How is Naxxramas forgettable?
Either way, I can't wait to see the race to world first for these raids, and we will definitely be covering it on this channel.
There is no race to world first for this. The race was over 15 years ago or whatever. Like, there's no more race to world first on this shit. Oh my god, started playing WoW only 4 months ago. Was extremely surprised with all the help I was getting from random players. Now with our guild, after 2-3 hour sessions, we managed to kill Caligos for the first time. I know people mostly play Classic WoW as a nostalgia trip gone wrong, but it is honestly still a fun game for even new players with help from others, that is. You're just you're just like a masochist, so like, yeah, maybe. I was in the server first guild up through Wrath. One thing no one seems to mention is that the computers are much better and internet connections are much better. Even if it's a small Lego slow down the original launch of BC, I feel like that plays a role when compared to today. We used to have players face the wall because they had bad GPUs and had to have people wait outside on certain fights because of the lag. Those are almost non-existent issues today. Did an original game with my guild, glad we got kills on Muru and KJ before the nerf. Those were insanely hard encounters. Sure, bro. Hard encounters. The world first race is so heavily practiced, I don't really consider it a benchmark for difficulty. Yep. For the rest of us plebs, it won't be so easy. Read a guide for 10. It was nice to see some of the guilds still wiping to twins and Muru though. It's funny, my guild runs 4 hunters too, haha, and with absolutely no testing of PTR and going in fresh besides a guild meeting the night before, we got through Kalik and Brutalis in under 3 hours. 2 bosses in 3 hours? This is normal mode, there's no like heroic, it's like this is normal mode. Jesus Christ, people are bad in fucking Classic, it's insane. We wiped on Muru for 2 months straight, seeing Phase 2 twice. The third time we saw Phase 2 was 2 AM on the night before the nerf. Killed it, us top 100, US top 100, baby. Cleared up to twins in a GDKP white main as EZK, Boomkey, and 320k for 4 bosses so far, 18 hours run. Going back in now after we slept. Non tomorrow. I don't know what language that even was. Okay, I was wondering how these guys all cleared Muru in one shot when it took my insanely talented guild over a month to kill him back when it was first released. They didn't have to deal with the pushback mechanic. Honestly, I think the pushback mechanic should be in the game. Only a little because we are not quite ready. Our guild has formed rather late and the consistent team and synergy is just now starting to flourish. We've only been in Black Temple about 4 weeks. We hit up Council for the first time last Saturday and one-shot it. Illidan was not so kind to us. We will be starting trash runs soon, but we want to clear Black Temple a bit more consistently first before we attempt bosses. 3k DPS? Remember 800 being the highest I could pull off in T5. Heard of the 600 DPS Brutalis DPS check and thought that was nearly impossible. Definitely for Wrath rather than raiding. Any raids my guild is doing is T1, 2, and 3. Meanwhile, most guilds can't get past the first boss. Dude, Kellic is such a joke. What are you talking about? Our guild is half raid loggers, but I like to think we do well. Wish I had our brute kill record last night. He enraged with 6% left and he instantly killed both our tanks and everyone just gave Hit the last bit of everything, trying to get the kill. We end up executing him with only one player alive. At the end, is definitely had everyone up on their feet. It was so crazy. That's why I love this game. Moments like this. I mean, dude, like, so bad. And again, like, I can imagine the nerdgasms that people have. And trust me, as a paladin, I had my fair share of like last second kill during a bubble. It's like 0.001%. You just need that one auto, and you just like you see your bubbles running out, so you kite on your horse, throw a judgment, and boom, you got the kill, and everyone's happy. And you're like, as expected, what else am I gonna do? Fucking keel over and die? Oh my god, man, like, it's so weird. It's so weird. People are so weird. And again, it's fine that people are bad, but it's like, fuck, I don't understand this excitement over like a 15-year-old game. Leveling is a fucking cancer and a half. Jesus Christ. Anyways, on to the next one. God damn, this kind of people happy about TBC is just fucking crazy. It's just crazy to me. It's like I can't relate to these people at all. Oh boy. Alright. On to the next one.